Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so. Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett. Because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah. New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it.
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Heel to the Face podcast is on the air once again, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on every platform you can find a podcast and or wrestling show, as we are on the road to WrestleMania. Royal Rumble kickstarted it last week, but now we're on that slow and steady pace. So without further ado, let's get to this week's program.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening
with a 20-minute time limit.
So here with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, you can find him on Twitter @Icebreaker21, and myself, Jared, just Jared Wicks, and the program itself @HeelToTheFace on Twitter. Let's start off with Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan, he has undergone neck surgery. How long do you think he's going to be out for? And now what do you do with Seth Rollins? I'll start with you, Brandon.
Hopefully for a while, because I'm sick of Jason Jordan, to be absolutely honest. Hopefully, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I hope he gets well soon. Hopefully it's it's not, too long. But right now, I think is a good time. There's never really a good time for an injury. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a few months. But going forward, I hope he does. I hope he has a speedy recovery. Maybe they'll work him in somewhere else without Seth Rollins. I think this whole Seth Rollins, Jason Jordan thing is completely done. Seth Rollins, honestly, and the sad part is, I hate saying this because I love Seth Rollins. He's not a main event guy right now. He's just kind of sitting in the mid card, which is unfortunate because I think he's one of the most talented guys in the business. Right now, the last few months, I feel like his star has kind of faded a little bit. So hopefully he gets back on the main event stuff. Maybe he's doing, Intercontinental Championship, U.S. Championship. Maybe we'll see him move around a little bit. He's got to be somewhere in a title ring. I don't think it's going to be a tag team. I think they purposely set this up where there's no more tag team matches between the Bar and then Seth Rollins and whoever his tag team partner is. I'm glad they didn't have it where him and Roman Reigns just came in and won the title. I thought that would have been a little too predictable and I think that would have been stupid, to be honest with you. So
what do you do with Seth Rollins? I mean, WrestleMania is coming up. The next pay-per-view is coming up. What are you going to do with Seth Rollins? Are you just going to plug in somebody else and continue this storyline like they did at TLC?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't
have done this all along. I would have, as soon as Dean Ambrose got hurt, I wouldn't have done this. But they're continuing to do it, and I think this is what we talked about before when Kurt Angle came in. This shows that they have this long-term booking. They don't have plan Bs, and when somebody gets hurt, the only thing they know how to do is just replace them. They're already going to have a 6-man elimination chamber. If 5 people get hurt, they're just going to replace them. If 30 men get hurt, but the Royal Rumble's still scheduled, you're still having a Royal Rumble. It's kind of like the NFL back in the 80s or any of these leagues that have had strikes. You just replace them with scab players and keep on going. And that's the problem with this storyline. I don't think Seth Rollins is in the mid card, if you will, like
he is right now.
A typical mid card.
He is right now. The way they're building him, he is.
I feel like that story though is still higher on the list than, let's say, where Baron Corbin is on the SmackDown roster. I feel that Seth Rollins thing is more.
I'm glad you said Baron Corbin, because I think him and Seth Rollins are in the same place. They're on the mid card. Their storylines, they just kind of sat there. They're not going anywhere. They're just kind of, it's kind of like, you put the car in cruise control and you're just going down the highway. That's all it is right now. They're not doing anything.
That is what it is though, because people keep getting hurt, but they just won't let this quote unquote Shield storyline die.
I know, let it go. Dean's out. Let it go. Let's Roman's doing his thing. He's doing fine. I know you're not a big fan of Roman Reigns, as we saw on Twitter. I get it, but he's doing his thing. Let Seth do his thing. Maybe you shake things up a little bit. Maybe I don't know if they'll probably won't do it before WrestleMania, obviously. But why don't they maybe make a trade and trade somebody from SmackDown and flip them to Raw? Maybe get some fresh blood in there. I don't know.
See, I would like to see him maybe maybe have him tag with Roman Reigns. And the reason I say that is because I would like to see Roman Reigns out of his situation.
That's not going to happen.
I don't want to see Brock versus Roman.
We're going to see it. Vince has already made it planned out. It's done. What I want.
I would rather see Braun versus Lesnar.
Yeah, I'd be good with that.
Even though we've kind of already seen it, we've already obviously seen Reigns and Lesnar as well. I just feel that if Strowman left WrestleMania, I feel whoever faces Lesnar is going to leave there with the title. It's just that typical thing. He's been the champion for a year. We're not going to start another year of Brock Lesnar. Because if Brock Lesnar won at WrestleMania, that guarantees that he's not going to defend it for 2 or 3 months, because that's what he does.
We don't want that.
I just don't
it's
think.
Done.
Yeah, I think this year-long story of Brock Lesnar holding the belt is coming to an end. So whoever he faces.
Thank God. I'm sick of it. I'm done. Yeah. I'm over it.
But I don't want Roman Reigns to be the replacement.
Well, I'll take Roman Reigns because, unlike you, I am a fan of Roman Reigns. I think he does a great job. I don't think he's not Miz on the mic. I'm not going to say that, but I think he's gotten better in the ring. I think his matches are a lot better than what they have been. I think he's doing a great job. I would not say he's the best talker. I think he would be above average.
I don't think he's the best talker.
He's above average.
It's not even really anything against Roman Reigns.
It is. Come on. You know it is. You don't like Roman Reigns.
it just doesn't happen organically. I just feel that it's being pushed. I feel like that, everyone was excited that he was eliminated from the Royal Rumble, because a part of that back in the day before the brand meant that finally we're not going to see Roman Reigns in the main. We're going to see, but it's just another way for them to get him in there some other way. So essentially, even though he didn't win the Royal Rumble, it's annoying because he did win the Royal Rumble. If you're going to put him in the main event, it's the same thing. He didn't win the Royal Rumble, but you're going to put him in there, so what's the difference?
I get that. I understand what you're saying. To me, where I want to go, and I've been saying this for a long time, why in the hell are we not pushing Finn Balor? What the hell is going on with this? I want to see Finn and Brock. I feel we're going to
see Bullet Club versus New Day.
You think so? I hope not. I'm so sick of the New Day. Which, speaking of the New Day, how in the hell do you put them ahead of the Usos on that stupid top 10 list that we got going on?
This top 10
ridiculous.
List, tell me, what does this even mean? Why is this important? Why do I care about this top 10 list? What does this do for anybody?
To me, I don't think it does. I think it's good for maybe internally for like the wrestlers, where they could see, oh, wow. And I think it might be like the Usos are using this.
You have women and men on the same one. So what does that mean?
Well,
what does any of this mean?
You don't even have 10 female superstars.
I understand that, but I'm just saying. It's not like we're going to see a matchup of 1 versus 2 ever.
Well, yeah, that's not going to happen. 1 versus 3 is coming up.
So what I'm saying is, what does this actually mean for anybody?
To me,
this would be fine if this was a way, let's say you had remember video games back in the day? If you remember old wrestling video games, let's say in the late 90s, PlayStation 1 days, when they didn't know how to create storylines organically. So it was like Mortal Kombat style. When you were to fight for a championship, you had to go up, beat the person in front of you. It'd be like a ranking system. It would be, a lot of the games have it. You'd win the Intercontinental champ. You'd beat 5 guys and you become the IC champ. Then you'd beat 5 guys and become the world. There was no storylines. It was just like it was like a fighting game. Yeah. You would just be matched up against guys based on your ranking. You'd be like, you won 5 in a row. You've earned a chance to face number 1 Shawn Michaels. If that means this somehow, if the rankings mean that Ty Dillinger can all of a sudden win 5 in a row, and maybe Shinsuke loses 2 in a row, and all of a sudden Ty Dillinger is,
first off,
for the title.
And to my point about New Day, I think this is good for storylines. For fans, I don't think we really care.
It would be good, I think, maybe for storylines if it was the top 10 individuals. But the fact that you have tag teams in here mixed with women, it really doesn't judge at all, because, like I said, it'd be fine if there was some sort of, Ty Dillinger can go up the rankings and he becomes number 2, and that means your quote-unquote money in the bank. You get to fight for the championship whenever you want.
Ty Dillinger, nothing against him. I'm a big fan and supporter of his. You know that. He should not be on this list. Bar none. Where the hell is Rusev on this? First off, Rusev.
What are these lists based off of? Wins, losses, what?
No, it's based on popularity contest. Is what I saw and what I saw on the show. They were talking about the most popular people in the locker room is what I was seeing. So that's where to me it sounds like it's a popularity contest. To me it's a popularity contest. Maybe it's not showing in a reflection of who the real best talented guys are. Maybe it just means Ty Dillinger is one of the more popular guys in the locker room. People just like him. Because here's the thing. How the hell is Randy Orton number 9? Let's be honest here. And Randy Orton should be in the top 5. That's just my opinion. I will say this. The top 3, I'm okay with. I'm fine with it. AJ Styles that's obviously he's the champ that runs the camp.
Champ and number one contender for champ.
I'm fine with that.
Is Naomi number one contender for the women's belt? Am I missing something here?
I don't think she is.
I don't really think anybody is at the moment.
I don't think she really is.
Asuka, quote unquote, hasn't made her decision yet. That type of stuff. So, I mean, we don't know where that's going for sure.
The problem is though, why? I mean, it still bugs me. How are the tag champions below contenders? That just doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
to
the
me.
New Day, how often do they even compete? Last week, I believe they were just in the back the whole time.
They were doing Twitter. Who cares? I don't care.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's based off of popularity.
I know, that's the problem. It's a popularity contest. It's not. So it should be based on.
I mean, New Day, if you remember, they were the host of WrestleMania last year. That's a job that you would give to Drew Carey or Bob Barker. That's not a job you would give to a active star. I mean, it was fine when you give it to The Rock because at the time he was quote unquote not an active wrestler. I mean, that would be like taking Shinsuke Nakamura and saying you're the host of WrestleMania. Well, you're like, what? No, I'm a competitor.
Well, you know what's speaking great. I was gonna say that's a nice choice, by the way. Is he going to do it in Japanese or in English? Because Japanese, he's going to
maybe that wouldn't be such a nice choice.
Yeah.
So let's get on to
one word at a time.
More pressing concerns. Your tweet of the week last week is kind of morphed into its own little storyline, and now we have a feud, quote unquote, between Booker T and Corey Graves. Booker T has said on his podcast that his firing came at the hands of Corey Graves. Corey Graves took some parting shots at Booker T on live TV and on Twitter. What do you make of this? So far, what I've read is that this is just a lot of work. And that's what I think. I don't understand why a lot of people think it's more than it is.
It's not. It's a work.
Mainly because the coach was going to... This wasn't Booker T. If Booker T left the announce table and had no replacement, then you would kind of get me to buy it. But the fact that you had Coach coming in, that had nothing to do with it. If Bob Costa said he's coming to WWE tomorrow, and all of a sudden Byron Saxon is not there, I don't think that has to do with any feud he had. I think it had to do with somebody bigger and better is coming to take your spot. Coachman was coming in. It wasn't Booker T was gone, and then they had to find a replacement. It was when they had a chance to get Coach.
He was reassigned.
They were getting Coach.
It was to me, Booker. I mean, I'll use the baseball terminology because we talk baseball off the air too. And it's like Booker was in the major leagues, so to speak, where he was.
Somebody came back from injury.
Somebody came back and he got demoted.
Yeah,
that's all it really is. I don't know why we're making.
He was
a big
holding
deal
a place.
Yeah, he was a placeholder. Yes, he was a placeholder, and he's back to where he should be. The kickoff show, which nobody really watches anyways. So I mean, I'll probably now just because Booker's on it, I'll probably watch it because he makes no sense half the time. So I love Booker. I think he's entertaining.
I think this was just a work to try.
Oh yeah,
I think you're trying to get Corey Graves to be the announce table's heel. I think they're trying to get him to be the Bobby Heenan. They're trying to get him to be the Jim Cornette. The JBL. They're trying to give him something. So they give him this fake heat, if you will, because like I said, I mean, Jonathan Coachman is great. He's been around the block. And you didn't bring him in because you were desperate. As soon as you had a chance to bring him in, you brought him in because he's good. He brings legitimacy to the product.
You don't think that once ESPN and him parted ways, you don't think Vince was already on the phone? Because Jonathan Coachman has always expressed interest in coming back to WWE anyways. Why do you think he pushed so hard for WWE to be on SportsCenter and all that stuff? That was him. He's a WWE guy. So once from what I read, I mean, I wasn't in the room. I don't know how things went. But from what I read in the rumor mill, of course, Coach and ESPN, they didn't agree on the creative direction of different things. And he's like, screw it, I'm out of here then. That's the way it sounded from what I read. So great move for him. I think he's a welcome addition to the broadcast team. I think he's been doing a great job since he's been back. I know it's obviously not that long, but I think he's been doing a great job.
So WWE currently just had one of their conference calls where they go over all their financial success, their social media success, their whole 9 yards. So they went over their fourth quarter revenues and everything for 2017. 1.48 million subscribers for the WWE network. That's about on par where they say they at least have to be. They needed over 1 million back in the day when this thing started, and they got that. And they said, and they quote unquote said paid subscribers, which is probably a big thing because they keep offering those free trials. So you always wonder how many of those people are in and out of those free trials. They recorded highest revenue in company history, $800 million. That's up 10%. But here's what I want to bring up, and this is very important. We're just coming off of the NFL Super Bowl. We're coming on the heels of what I think is the most boring thing in the world, the Olympics, whether summer or winter. Probably winter's the worst. And then WrestleMania is coming up. Forbes has named for the fourth year in a row, WrestleMania, this is probably its highest honor, top 10 most valuable sports events. And for the fourth year, WrestleMania has cracked the top 10. So when you're trying to argue with your friends, WrestleMania, where does that sit on the importance? There's a list.
It's a big deal.
There's a top 10 list. And according to Forbes, WrestleMania is ahead of the Daytona 500. It's ahead of the Kentucky Derby. And at 1 year was on par with one of the Final Fours. The Final Four, I believe, came in 6th place. WrestleMania came in 8th place. So when you want to try to, tell your friends where it sits not just in the importance of wrestling, but where it sits in the importance of sports landscape, I mean, being in the top 10, that is a big deal. And probably one of the bigger deals, that's the coolest thing about it, is of all the events, Super Bowl obviously came in number 1. The World Cup, the Winter and Summer Olympics, as well as the UEFA Premier League Championships. That's your top 5. They've kind of mixed and mingled. I don't currently have the list in front of me. I know that's your top 5. The World Cup has been 3. Sometimes it's been 2. Sometimes it's been 4, etc. But the fact that all of those things are essentially available on free TV. Now, cable TV, everyone's got cable nowadays. So that is essentially free TV.
I wouldn't say everybody has cable now. A lot of people are doing the streaming stuff now.
Yes, but I mean, cable is not a luxury. ESPN, for example, had the college football championship on it, or TBS has hosted the NCAA men's Final Four. It is now a mainstream event. The Super Bowl could be on cable television.
Internet, I would say, is more of a bigger thing than cable now.
But what I'm saying is, if this was 1993 and I told you the Super Bowl was going to be on ESPN, I mean, that'd be 50 million people less watching it. That would be a huge deal. Nowadays, I don't think they blink an eye. Nowadays, the Final Four, if it's on CBS or it's on CBS cable network, it's really the same thing because most people have both or access to both. WrestleMania is the only one that is available only on a paid TV service in the sense of you have to specifically seek it out. Yes, it's on the WWE network, but it's not on a traditional channel that just anybody is going to flip on by accident. It's not like the World Cup. It is not like the Olympics. It's not like the Super Bowl. It's not like I can just talk to people at work and everybody has access to that. You are paying specifically for that, whether it's for the wrestling network, which you have to be a wrestling fan to have, or it's on a pay-per-view basis. So that is quite an accomplishment for WrestleMania to be in the top 10 of the most valuable sports events in the world. Not just because obviously the World Cup and the UEFA Championship, those are outside of America. For it to be in the top 10, and not just in the top 10, but not 10, but to be above things, like I said, like the Kentucky Derby, above the Daytona 500, it's really saying a lot, because if you were to go up the average Joe, if you were to go up the average person who doesn't watch wrestling, they might realize, wrestling's kind of popular. But if I said I could bring the Kentucky Derby, or I could bring the Daytona 500, or I could bring WrestleMania to your town, you're the mayor of New Orleans, you're the mayor of Orlando, most people would, if you said WrestleMania, most of the average citizens would say, are you nuts? Have you not heard of these other things? Are you out of your mind? You must be in bed with Vince McMahon to bring in wrestling when we had our chance to bring the Daytona 500 to Charlotte, North Carolina. Obviously those things, Kentucky Derby, Daytona 500, they don't move. But the point of the matter is,
for the event, I get it.
Yes. So to show that to the citizens of these places that WrestleMania is pretty similar to bringing in an NCAA Final Four, men's Final Four, into your town. It's pretty much on par. They're within 50 million of each other. Is crazy. And I can tell you what, as much as I've ever loved WrestleMania, I've never thought it would be in the mainstream consciousness like that. I think that sometimes is bigger than bringing in celebrities and, other things that they do to bring in kind of that mainstream popularity. Being in the top 10 of Forbes magazine's top most valuable sports brands, sitting alongside the Olympics, the Super Bowl, and obviously being ahead of things like the NCAA Women's Final Four, being ahead of...
Well, that I think we can obviously
being ahead of
get past that.
Every single bowl game that you can think of in college football. I'm not sure if the college football championship game broke the top 10. It wasn't mentioned in this press release, but it essentially could be, because in the last couple of years that wasn't in the top 10. So to see that this could even be higher than that, and again, it's cool because if you were to ask a person on the street, if they watch the Final Four or they watch WrestleMania, some people on the street might have to ask you what WrestleMania is. So for this to be on par with something that is in the mainstream consciousness as all these other events like the Olympics is a pretty big deal. Final thing I want to bring up before we cut to break. So Jeremy Borash, he's now moved over. We talked about this kind of old news maybe about a week ago. Jeremy Borash of Impact Wrestling is on his way to WWE. He's already been in WWE. Now he is on slated to be one of the NXT announcers. At NXT TakeOver, we saw another Impact performer. EC3 made his debut. Now,
whoa, I wouldn't say. I mean,
yes,
an appearance.
Now, Impact Wrestling, they're starting to move in better directions with the 4-sided ring, but I didn't realize this was going on, so I went to Bound for Glory in November, and they had a week long of TV tapings that week. Makes sense. I thought those TV tapings would take you to the end of November, early December, what have you. But after EC3 made his quote-unquote TV debut with NXT at TakeOver, he was still, not just still champion of Impact Wrestling, but was at a show that was taped in which he was retaining the belt. Not losing the belt and then, okay, that makes sense, because this one was taped before. This is how old the Impact tapings were, is that after he was already seen on NXT, he was on Impact Wrestling retaining the belt to have it for yet another week into the future. So my thing is, with Impact Wrestling, I understand, you tape things, a week in advance. Raw back in the day, was taped sometimes a week in advance. SmackDown, obviously, for years was taped in advance. But, I mean, with things like this, especially with Jeremy Borash, I wonder how caught up they are. I don't know Jeremy Borash's contract, but I would probably say there's a good chance we could be seeing a lot of double takes of Jeremy Borash on Impact Wrestling. And because of the fact that, again, this isn't like... What was going to be my tweet of the week last week was EC3 tweeting out he always wanted to be like Rick Rude because he was showing up on 2 shows at one time like Rick Rude did back in the day. But what Rick Rude did back in the day was kind of like a 1-week exception. It just happened to be that one was taped, one was live, and that was the only time. We weren't talking he was on shows on Nitro or let's say Monday Night Raw. He wasn't on Monday Night Raw for weeks after he debuted on Nitro. It was 1 week, and it was literally 1 week of taping. Now, this is a situation where EC3, I don't even know if there's an episode this week of Impact, so number 2 weeks away since he's made his debut with NXT, and he still could be on the show, as well as Jeremy Borash. It's one thing to tape shows, but you gotta be much more current than that, especially in the mainstream. I mean, you wouldn't even pull this stuff, maybe pull this stuff in the 80s. But, I mean, in 2018 with social media, you cannot be taping shows in November and still airing them in February.
No, they're way behind the times. Now, before we go to break, I just want to make 2 final points. So, on Raw, I really enjoyed the fact that John Cena lost. And the best part, clearly, Elias won.
Yes.
That was beautiful. Out of the 3 guys in that match, Elias was the guy who was not thinking about winning. And it worked good, and we'll get to my tweet later, but John Cena lost. Elias won. So that was cool. That was my highlight of Raw. My highlight of SmackDown, I have to say, the Usos promo was fantastic, by the way. I thought they did a great job. I know. It was better because they had less graphics than last week. Yeah. I know you were going to jump on that. I thought the Usos did a great job. Their promo was fantastic, and it was nice. I think they're the best talkers in the tag team world right now. They are so good. Their matches are fantastic. They are, to me, I don't care.
I think they're the best tag team period in WWE.
No doubt.
I'm not going to say New Japan. I don't want to compare it to things I'm not that familiar with. But in WWE,
they're the best. They're the best in the world. It's as simple as that. I'm putting it out there. I don't care. You New Japan fans, you can jump down my throat. You can tweet us. We'll do what you got to do. But I'm telling you right now, they are the best in the business, hands down. No, there's nobody else better. Simple as that.
Usos, best tag team in the world. That's how we cut to break. When we return, our tweet of the week, our Twitter question of the week, and more. You are listening to the Heel to Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow @BoyGreen25 and @TyDButler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB. You name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Yeah. Hey.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Yeah. Boys. Yeah. Hold on. We them boys.
Heel to the Face podcast back on the air. It is time for our social media segments of the week. We start with our Twitter question of the week. So our Twitter question of the week this week is kind of personal, pertains to myself. So the night before WrestleMania for the second year in a row, Ring of Honor, while in the past, at least recent past, has run a lot of Saturday afternoon shows, and NXT would used to run their takeover on Friday nights. But in the last 2 years, thanks to the Hall of Fame being moved to Friday, including this year, NXT TakeOver and Ring of Honor, which obviously is gaining steam with its New Japan Wrestling connection, are hosting shows at the same exact time, 7 o'clock, 7:30 on Saturday night. Last year, the Ring of Honor show was known for seeing the Hardy Boys take on the Young Bucks in a ladder match less than 24 hours before the Hardy Boys made their WWE return. NXT TakeOver has always been a great show as well. So if you had to pick one to go to, which one would you pick? And 78% of our voters said NXT TakeOver. I know Brandon, he's a huge NXT fan. 22% Ring of Honor. So let me tell you what I picked, and let me tell you why. So I've never been to a TakeOver show.
That's your first problem.
I picked Ring of Honor. And
Dude, come on.
Here's why.
Whoa, hold on. Before you start, how in the hell do you go to the last 10 WrestleManias? I'm definitely over-exaggerating, but I know you've been to the last few.
Uh-huh.
And you haven't gone to an NXT show. What? That's problem number one. Problem number two, NXT is the place to be, baby. Come on now.
So I will tell you why I picked, okay? So what made me get on, and essentially, these tickets for both these events went on sale months ago, but I bought tickets for neither. Ring of Honor decided that the main event was going to be Cody Rhodes versus Kenny Omega. And while I love WWE, that's why I'm going to WrestleMania. The Hall of Fame Friday night will be at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. Monday Night Raw on Monday will be at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. And I'm hoping to attend both of those events. NXT will also be at the Smoothie King Center, as well as WrestleMania, not a Smoothie King Center, but a WWE event.
So you're gonna get the layout. You're gonna get the lay of the land, so to speak. That's cool.
So I chose not to go to the same exact arena with the same exact setup because we all know WWE and how they set up their stage. That's why they're having the Hall of Fame one night and NXT the next, so they can pretty much set it up and then keep it that way for a week straight. So
if there was pyro, you're going.
If it was a different setup, if it was a different arena, let's say a couple years ago, NXT decided to do their takeover event not from where the Mavericks play in Dallas, but from the convention center, which was a little arena. They've grown because they're money hungry. So if they
could sell it out,
if they decided to do this at another venue in New Orleans, similar to example, Ring of Honor is going to be at an arena.
So you want to go to like University of Tulane? Right? Is that where something like that?
Well, they're going to have this at the Lakefront Arena. Ring of Honor is going to be at the Lakefront Arena, which is home to the University of New Orleans basketball. It's an arena. It's not it's not a small little field house or a gym. It's an arena that fits probably about 8,000 or 9,000 people, and it's pretty close to being sold out. That's why I made sure to get my tickets as soon as I could when this match was made. So you get a chance to go to a different venue than you're going to be going to lots of. I'm going to be going to the Smoothie King Center like 2 or 3 times during WrestleMania.
That's cool.
You're going to see non-WWE because, at NXT, for example, I'm not saying a lot of those guys are going to be at the WrestleMania card, but you're getting the WWE presentation. This Kenny Omega is that perfect. If it was, that was what sold me. Seeing Kenny Omega, because he's not going to be making a surprise appearance at WrestleMania. He's not going to be at NXT. It's a chance to kind of broaden your horizons. And while it does stink that these events are going on at the same time, because I may have the money maybe to only attend one, I'd like to be watching the other one at the very least. So it's kind of annoying that they're happening at the same time. And you would think that Ring of Honor would move their show up so they wouldn't have to compete because they're competing. These are the same audience. These are the same wrestling fans, non-quote-unquote WWE fans who go to these things. And that's why you would think Ring of Honor would put this show on at maybe 3 p.m. like they had in years past. It used to be on Saturday night, or it used to be on Saturday at 3, and that wasn't so much to compete with NXT, but they didn't want to even compete with the Hall of Fame. Because again, these are the same audiences.
Yeah, you can make a long. I mean, I will say this: if I was if I was in New Orleans, being a wrestling fan that I am, if it's in the same day, where it's like, okay, like you said, 2 or 3 o'clock, it's done by 6, and it's close enough in proximity, then I go hit NXT afterwards. To me, Ring of Honor would be like the appetizer and then the main course is NXT. That to me,
the main course is WrestleMania.
Well, no, I'm saying in that day.
Yes.
Comparing apples to apples here. NXT to me, from top to bottom, is going to be a better show. I think so. I'm not going to the show just to see Kenny Omega. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm still holding out, hoping that maybe like Will Ospreay, Marty Scurll, some of these other Ring of Honor show. So that is probably it's the New Japan feel. Now, if this was straight up a lot of just Ring of Honor guys, I'd lean towards NXT. But we're going to see a lot of these New Japan guys who, while I'm not going to say I've ever always been a huge fan of, but they're the flavor of the week. And, watching Wrestle Kingdom, for example, it kind of got me to say, this is a way where I can have a little Wrestle Kingdom and a little WrestleMania in the same week. NXT and WrestleMania, those are great. Those would be great events, but that's like an all WWE, nothing but WWE weekend. This gives me a chance to really kind of see something different. It'd be like if you're going to the NCAA men's Final Four college basketball, and you can either go to an NBA game the night before or another college basketball game. You'd pick an NBA game just because you just want to broaden, you want to see something different, or maybe an NBA game versus an arena football game or something. You might pick the football game because you want to change sports. That was my idea here, but
I don't think a lot of WWE fans are going to go to Ring of Honor instead of NXT. I
think they're going to get 8,000 people to this event.
Yeah, but I bet you a lot of them. I don't want to bank on it, but I'm thinking a lot of those Ring of Honor, the people that are going to that. I don't want to say all of them are going to, or a good portion of them are going to WrestleMania. Do you think over NXT? So are you thinking you're like the majority where they go to Ring of Honor on Saturday and then go to WrestleMania on Sunday?
I mean, why would I feel that Ring of Honor doesn't come there to just cater to the local? I mean, none of these shows cater to the locals.
Why the hell would you compete Why would you compete at the same time as NXT? Like to me, that's bad. That's bad business. I'm sorry.
I agree. I feel that they shouldn't be against each other, but they are. I had to pick one or the other. And it's funny because I actually attended a Ring of Honor show. The only Ring of Honor show that I've actually ever attended was in 2007, the night before WrestleMania 23. That was back when I couldn't get my hands on Hall of Fame tickets. And there wasn't, in WrestleMania, even as low back as WrestleMania 23, wasn't to the extent that it was now, meaning that Ring of Honor was kind of dipping their toes in the water of bringing a federation or an organization to WrestleMania weekend and trying to get some of that audience. That was back when Ring of Honor was the only non-WWE thing there. Now, I mean, obviously, there's every federation and company you can think of will be there and will be running shows. And somebody will be running a show at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday and 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Shimmer Wrestling will be there. What Culture Wrestling will be there. One of the ones I still want to see, and I'm kind of wondering if Ring of Honor is going to maybe ruin it for me, is Saturday night at midnight. The last couple years at WrestleMania, they do Kaiju Big Battle, which is, if you're not familiar with Kaiju Big Battle, it is something that MTV kind of popularized about 10 years ago. It's going to be midnight on Saturday night, and it's been midnight every year that it's been there. And midnight kind of fits its bill. It is this ridiculous, outlandish, insane parody of professional wrestling and comic books, and it's mixed with a lot of like Asian, Japanese, undertones. For example, matches will be big buildings versus hamburgers, people dressed up as Batman versus, just crazy. I mean, they'll use like foam and they'll use like foam blocks. People will be dressed up as Godzilla in a handicap match with 3 buildings, and they'll destroy the buildings. And they don't do maybe a ton of flips or anything like that because they're in these huge costumes. But it's just, and the ring announcer will be somebody you would, kind of a parody of somebody you would see from like a Bruce Lee movie where he's, a bad Asian stereotype, if you will. It's like comic books, wrestling, and cartoons all mixed. And it's like it's on at midnight for that reason, because it's going to get this weird, wacky kind of crowd that, like you watch wrestling and they throw the streamers and stuff like that. This is kind of like Nickelodeon, they might throw foam and goo and, it might, be just a crazy different, like wrestling cartoon. And I wanted to attend that just because of, it's one of those things, when you go to a foreign country and you say, wow, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm at some sort of reggae party in Brazil. Who would ever thought, only in Brazil. And it's kind of like that WrestleMania weekend, 3 o'clock in the morning to be at this crazy underground, wrestling ridiculousness that is something that is just like, it just wouldn't fit at noon. It wouldn't fit as part of the regular part of the wrestling. It fits as like this underground weird thing that would only cater to, a few people that's just strange out there. It's like, a lot of these like crazy nightclubs or crazy things that you wouldn't find.
It's a niche crowd.
Some crazy nightclub you would find in New York City that's 3 stories underground. The doors don't open till 3 a.m. and the party goes from 3 a.m. till 7 a.m. Like one of these like weird, like the type of clientele who go there. So I've always wanted to attend.
It's a niche crowd.
Yes, it's strange, Definitely. It's weird, it's broadening your horizon, similar to what I'm doing in Ring of Honor. And I hope to attend that this year, as we now move on to our tweets of the week. So, Brandon, let's start with you. What is your tweet of the week?
I sort of touched base on it in the previous segment regarding John Cena. So my tweet, I haven't used them in a while. WWE Creative Humor, very good follow. Obviously follow the show. But you should definitely check out WWE Creative Humor-ish. There's WWE Creative_ish is the Twitter handle. Very good follow. You can find some really good takes. It's really hot takes, honestly. It's funny stuff. So the tweet that I got from them this week is, did we just let John Cena get pinned? Didn't know we could do that. #Raw. I mean, when does that actually happen? And the best part was Elias. And we were talking in the break. Elias for Hall of Fame in 20 years. Let's get it done, guys. Let's do it, Vince. I thought that was great. You don't see it happen. John Cena usually gets over every time. He somehow becomes Superman, Super Cena. It was cool to see. Out of that three people in the match, you got the trio there. You got Strowman, Cena, Elias. Did you see Elias winning that match? Because I didn't. I rooted for him because it's something different. That was a hell of a match. And I just thought it was interesting. It was a great take. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait, John Cena lost clean? Does that ever happen? It really doesn't.
It doesn't happen too much. Just like kind of at the Royal Rumble, how when Shinsuke eliminated Roman Reigns, it was pretty clean.
That was very nice.
He just eliminated him.
Yeah, that was good.
There wasn't any sort of, he got eliminated, he slipped, he fell, so it's kind of cool lately to see these guys getting some clean victories.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm moving on to my tweet of the week, and when I saw this, I thought, how can this not be the tweet of the week? This is my tweet of the week, no doubt. So Shelton Benjamin tweets out this week, "Thank you, Budget rental car company, LIT." I'm not familiar. He puts that in quotations. That might be from where he got the vehicle. "For your great service and putting my reputation, freedom, and quite possibly my life in jeopardy. I'm unknowingly been driving your car. around for the last 4 days with an effing loaded gun in my glove compartment.
Oh boy!
And he shows a picture of the gun that he found and the ammunition in the glove compartment.
Oh boy, that's not good.
Budget has responded. They said they've turned the matter over to local law enforcement. I think probably an equal part is somebody responded to this tweet, Randy Orton. And, I don't know if maybe this can get you in some sort of trouble because, again, there's a reason why you have the WWE tag to your Twitter accounts because WWE is selling your Twitter accounts. They're promoting your Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
So to tweet out, holy fuck, dude, no bleeps or any sort of just straight up.
Straight up.
I kind of wonder what WWE, because, they're telling their 12-year-old kids, don't forget to follow Randy Orton on Twitter.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, that's... I get it. It's a real reaction. I mean, the thing is, though, I'm not a parent, but if I was a parent, I probably wouldn't let my kids on Facebook and Twitter and tell them.
For example, Shelton Benjamin did F-N, like, ECF&W. So he put F-N. He didn't write out the word. But
that's
and
fine.
you got to think, I don't mean to get political or anything like that, but we're talking a man of African-American descent driving a rental car, so he's not, legally registered to have this car. Only who could imagine what could happen if, he was to get pulled over with a loaded gun in his glove compartment. If he wasn't to have found this and he was to get pulled over for speeding or running a red light and they were to do a search on the vehicle.
And they find that.
And they find this.
He's in trouble, man.
I mean, he is in some serious trouble.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Think of it this way. What if he returned the vehicle not knowingly, and the next person that takes it finds it and says, who was the last person that had it?
Yeah.
That could happen. That could have happened, too. Good call on his part.
I assume that Budget handing this over to local law enforcement means that they're going to probably look at it from a sense of fingerprints,
Hopefully Shelton didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Shelton, keep your hands off the merchandise, man. Don't do it. Well, hopefully it was just a picture. So
yes. So that is my tweet of the week, and that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, you can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. For myself, Jared Wicks, you can find me on Twitter at Jared Wicks. But most importantly, follow the program at Heel to the Face, HEEL to the Face on Twitter. That's where you'll find the upload for this episode, our Twitter question of the week, our tweets of the week, as you just heard, and any other information that we want to send out to you as you have been listening to the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.